Okay, so this weekend I will be working on a GMC Envoy 2005. Alright, I just finished airing the tires. The tire pressure on each tire was a little low, so just hooked up the air compressor and aired those up because I'm going to be backing this vehicle up onto those car ramps. To see my driveway kind of sits at a slope, so by backing it up onto the ramps, it'll bring it up about level, and it should give me enough clearance to crawl underneath. The issue this Envoy is having is standing outside of the vehicle, you can smell gasoline, and I don't think it's a hole in the gas tank, because the gas tanks in these are plastic. So are a lot of the fuel lines. They're also plastic as well. What I'm pretty sure happened is the top of the fuel pump, where rain and snow and stuff gathers up, is probably rusted out the top of that fuel pump. See right here, I have a new fuel pump assembly, and on top of this, you can see there's this metal line here and here. And what I think happened is one of these two have rusted out enough to rust all the way through that, leaving a hole, which is where the gas smell would be coming from. And you see here, you have two lines here, then you have some electrical pigtails. Your pump and everything's in this. And on this side here, this is your fuel float. And then the fuel sending unit, this is what tells your gas gauge how much gas is in your vehicle. This plastic thing here is like a fuel reserve. Gas fills up into this thing, so when the gas sloshes around in the tank, it still receives a consistent flow of gasoline to the engine. This one I'm going to be replacing. So we got a new gasket here for it too. And now, that's what a lot of people call the 6-hour job. They say it takes 6 hours to do this. We'll see how long it takes me. But anyway, I'm going, like I said, I'm gonna back this up onto those ramps, get some jacks under there. There's some jack stands, just in case the ramps fail. Then there are two metal tank straps that hold the plastic gas tank up against the bottom of the vehicle. Once I have those loose, I can lower it down. At that point, I'll be reaching up on top of the gas tank to disconnect all the fuel lines and the electrical pigtails that are connected to it, and then sliding it out from under the vehicle, and then replacing that fuel pump float assembly, slapping it back together, and that should resolve the problem. So yeah, here we go. Let's get started on that. Alright, as you can see, I've backed the vehicle up onto my car ramps there. One jack here. I've got another one in the garage I'm probably going to use as well. So as you can see, that gives me quite a bit of clearance there to crawl up underneath there. Hopefully it's high enough to slide the gas tank out from underneath it. If not, I'll have to jack it up a little higher using a jack, some jack stands. Yeah, because of the angle of my driveway, it kind of works to my advantage on this, because now the vehicle's level and I've got quite a bit of room underneath there. But the gas tank itself is back here toward the back half of the vehicle. You can see there's the gas lid right there. The fill tube is right there. It comes down in front of this tire here into the tank, which is located about right there. So I'm gonna drop it down, slide it out. Once I get it slid out to about here on this concrete, so I'll replace that fuel pump float assembly and get it back under there. So back to work. From the underside, you see I've got a tank strap here. It goes across this tank. This black plastic right here, that's the fuel tank. As you can see, it goes all the way down. Now there's a cross brace here. It's got 4 bolts, 2 here, 2 down there. I'll have to drop this cross brace down, remove that strap there, and there's another strap way down here. Once I remove this cross brace and those 2 straps, about right here in the middle, I'll get a board, a long board, place it up across there with a jack underneath it, brace it up. Once the straps are loose, then I'll lower it down with the jack. I might have to use some WD-40 or some penetrating oil or something, something to break these bolts loose because they look pretty rusted. You can see. That's gonna be fun. So there we go. Bolt snapped. I hate that shit. Moving on. Well, bolt 2 broke. WD-40 didn't help. Bolt number 3 came out without breaking. Yay! Yay! Looks like I won't have to drill that one out at least. Let's try the 4th one. Are you gonna be a pain in the ass too, or are you gonna come out? Stay tuned and we'll find out. 4th bolt is out. It came partially out and then broke. Damn it. I think the rust is holding tighter than the bolts, folks. Mini sledge. And a gasket scraper trying to get this to come loose. Come on. I want to knock the rust off of it, but I'm afraid if I do, there won't be nothing left of it. Step 1 complete. Strap bolts are pretty rusted too. They started to round out on me, but I was able to tap a 14mm socket on that bolt. There's a little mini sledge there, and it broke loose, and hopefully I'll be able to thread it all the way out and then start on the next one. Well, WD-40, and it's out. Thankfully that one didn't break, but you can see it's pretty rusty. But, some WD-40, a little bit of patience, a lot of patience actually. And there it is. Now, strap number 2. This thing, should really drop. I'm gonna put the jack under here with the board to brace it up before I pull that one loose, so that way it doesn't just fall. On to the next one. Alright, so tank strap number 2 is out. So able to get that rusty bolt out without it breaking, thank God. You see I got the jack here with a board going across the middle of the tank here. This jack and that board right there is what's holding the gas tank up in place right now. So now all I have to do is slowly lower this jack, and as I slowly lower it, I'll break it down low enough to where I can get up top and unplug the fuel lines and the electrical pigtails that go to the pump, and then lower it all the way down, slide it off the jack onto the ground and slide it out. So we're almost there. Next step. All right, now underneath the passenger side and right up here, we have 2 fuel lines. We've got these plastic clips, and just so you know, 90% of the time when you pull these plastic clips out, they break. So let's go to AutoZone, O'Reilly's, wherever, and pick some of those up before you even start this, because guaranteed almost all of them are going to break. So I already have a couple packages of those, but basically you push out on these little tabs. This tab's already broke off. and this slides out. So let's see, this one, we have a little tab here, and on this side here, and then on this side, this piece pulls out, and then these separate right here, and they separate right here, and I will detach these lines from the lines on the tank, and then there'll be some more down on the other end of the gas tank going to a charcoal canister. There's the fill tube that goes up to the gas cap, and then up here, I don't know if you can see up there yet. I can't even see up there yet, but yeah, no, I can't quite see. But right there in the middle on the top of the gas tank, there'll be a couple lines, and a couple of the electrical pigtails I'll have to disconnect. Once I get these fuel lines loosened, can drop it down lower, I'll be able to reach more and more as I drop it lower and lower and lower. Just keep disconnecting as I drop it down until everything's disconnected, and I can drop it all the way to the ground, pull it out. So now I'm gonna get these loose and show you what it looks like after that. See, they broke. What I use to take those clips out are these picks here, and flathead screwdriver. If you have trouble getting them out, just break them. They're gonna break anyway. And here's a new one. This is what they look like. And like I said, here you got these two prongs. You have to separate those, pull them out, and then slide it out at the same time, which is what makes it difficult to pop these out without breaking them. Let me see here, I got two different sizes. These are the two sizes you will need. A slightly bigger one, smaller ones. But yeah, if they break, they break. So don't worry about it. You can get more, they're gonna break anyway. Just get them out so you can get the job done. Moving on. All right, those two lines are now disconnected. You see they're dripping gas. They were squirting gas. There's a puddle there. If you've never been showered by gasoline before, you may, when doing this. Now, this is not the first gas tank I've ever dropped, so I knew better than to be laying directly underneath it. Kind of what I do is lay off to the side, and I reach up here and I grab this one with one hand, grab the opposite with the other one, and just kind of twist them back and forth like this, and pry them apart while you're twisting them back apart. And twisting and pulling, they will separate and pop out. Just be prepared for that shower of gasoline. I got gasoline all over my hands, but you know, like I said, I was doing it in a way that it only got on my hands and didn't like run up my arms, completely shower me, because I wasn't underneath it. And now that these are disconnected, I'll lower this end down, because now it is free. It's not going to hang up on those. Those aren't going to keep it from dropping any farther, so I'm going to drop this down a little bit farther, try to get to the other lines and such, the fill tube and everything on the opposite end of this tank. And I'll show you what that looks like when I get to that. I'm gonna place another jack under here to lift the frame of this envoy up a little higher, because that tank strap was hitting the ground right there, and an angle is preventing the gas tank from sliding down, so I had to lift it up high enough to that swings freely and the tank won't get caught up on them straps. So now that the straps are up high enough to clear the driveway, I should be able to lower it down again. Here we go. Alright, so I've got the fuel tank partially lowered here. You can see it's at an angle because back there in the back, that fill tube hose is still attached, so it's hanging up on that. Now's the time we'll go back there and disconnect that so that end will drop. Now, you can see up in here now. Got some more pigtails and stuff to disconnect. But up there in the very center, on top of that gas tank, is where that fuel float pump assembly and everything's at. But I'm getting closer to where I can disconnect it all and get this out. So, it's time to disconnect that fill tube and get this strapped the rest of the way. Now we're underneath the back end of the vehicle. And if the spare tire is out of the way, it's much easier to get to. You can see up here, I gotta watch my head. All right, so this black box right here, unplugged. You got some electrical pigtails here, it's gotta be unplugged. This is another, I think like a vent tube for the fill tube. Then you have this fill tube. This goes up to the gas cap. This gotta come loose. This line here has gotta come loose. Electrical pigtails, gas lines off there, or whatnot. And I should be able to drop this end down more. So that's what I'm gonna work on next, is getting all that disconnected. And then I'll show you what it looks like afterwards. Whew. Out of breath. That is the fill line tube hose. What's connected there? Probably the hardest thing to disconnect and reconnect out of this whole job. There's the fuel tank. You can see I got right here one more pigtail to unplug, and I can pull this out. Whew. Moving on. So there's the gas tank, and right away, just looking at it right off the bat, you can see how rusted this is. And see, like I said before, rain, snow, everything else goes on top of here, and you can already see our problem. You see that? Now, this is probably a vent tube, okay? Because this line is where the fuel pumps the fuel up to the injectors. This one I think is a vent tube, and as you can see, there's gasoline in there. Now, I'm gonna have to plug that hole so that none of this rust falls down in there. But it's exactly what I thought happened. And that was actually worse than I thought. It rusted completely through all the way around. And now I'm gonna have to dig that piece of that pipe out of this plug here. But as you can see, there's the hole. That's what was creating the fuel smell from outside the vehicle. And then you can see how rusty this is. It's bad. So I'm gonna plug that hole up. I'm gonna brush as much of this rust off as I can. Kind of blow it off, wipe it with a rag, and then this lock ring, you turn it, it comes off, and then I'll have to be really careful cleaning the edge of that to replace the gasket that's underneath it. You want to make sure you don't get any of this rust and dirt down into the gas tank. But you can see that's pretty bad. And again, you have two here, one here, and then the two pigtails. And on the new one, I'll show you on the new one again. So here's our new one. Here's our two pigtails. Here's that one I showed you. And this one here, this one was the problem. That one was rusted completely through and no longer there. This one was still there, pretty rusty, and the whole top of this, of course, was rusty. So that's what we're gonna be replacing. And you know, whenever you do this kind of project, you want to go ahead and just replace the entire fuel pump float assembly. As you've seen, there's all the issues and the struggle of getting this tank out. You're not going to want to do this any more than you have to. So if you're going to go through all that trouble and hassle of getting this gas tank out of the vehicle, you might as well just replace everything all at once, get it all done that way, because that way you won't have any problems in the long run. Because if you replace one part of this and then later on another part of it goes out, say you replace the pump but you didn't replace the fuel float and cinder unit, and then that goes out, you gotta take this all back out just to replace that. So it's a good idea, just go ahead and replace it all at once while you have it out, and then put it back in, and it's all been replaced. You don't have to worry about it for a good decent amount of time. So now I'm gonna get this cleaned up and get it ready to install the new one. Alright, so what I did here is took this weird bolt I got, threaded it into that hole so that I could clean this thing off without any debris falling down into the gas tank. And basically just took a brush, brushed off as much as possible. There's a lot of rust flakes. It's still pretty flaky, just falling apart. But got all the sand, rock, dirt, most of the rust off. Next, you see these little grooves here all the way around, and you see this piece here has got to be slid over to that slot. This slides over to that slot. This slides over. Basically, this whole ring, you turn it and it comes off, and then that assembly comes out of the center. Those fit in real tight, so there's some you have to do some playing around with it, fight with it a little bit to get it out, and do the same, get the other one in, fight with it a little bit just to get it lined up and down in there, and then you put the new gasket and lock that lock ring back on. So now I'm going to go and do that, and you can also see here, actually probably was leaking some gasoline too there. You see a small hole right there, so this thing probably was spraying gasoline on the top of here too a little bit. But yeah, I'm gonna work on getting the new one in now. Alright, well, it seems like the more I tap on this and beat on it, the more it falls apart, because it's just flaking. The rust is really bad, it's all the way through. Basically what I've been doing is, let's see, you can see the knots that I put in that. So basically what you do, you set this on this notch here, and you tap it with a hammer to get it to turn this way and unlock. And yeah, it's rusted so badly I can't break it loose. So I soaked it with WD-40. I'm gonna let it sit for a while, and hopefully, see, you got these little ears here, 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 and here, all the way around. And so you gotta get this to turn where this lines up with that hole there, and then it comes up. But like I said, it's so rusted, it's rusted completely together. A lot of places it's rusted all the way through. So the more I tap and beat on it, the more it falls apart. So I'm gonna let this soak for a little while and try it again in a little bit. I finally got this tank ring to turn. As you can see, these here were up here. Now they're slid over into these open latches here. And I'll be able to pull this ring out. You can see how much WD-40 is up here. Jeez. As soon as it was rusted solid, I beat on this thing for at least about 20 minutes to break it free. And what I did was I used a screwdriver and hammered a flathead screwdriver up under each one of these tabs all the way around, and then up underneath this ledge all the way around, and then even underneath here, just to break it free of the rust, and then spray it again with WD-40,
and to get it to soak in even further. And yeah, finally. So now I should be able to get this thing out, and I have to be really careful not to get anything in the tank. Minutes, and yeah, so now wiping it off, it's just like rust and dirt sludge. I'll have to disconnect this line, pull this out, and I'll be right back. All right, so got the old one out. Here's the old one. This is rusted off here, and there's a rust hole right there. Finally got the new one in. It was fucking hell. It fit in so tight that it was fucking ungodly ridiculous. Now I have to still try to figure out how to pull the rest of that metal line out of this clip here, because this has got to snap onto here. I already got this one hooked back up, and yeah, it's a lot better than it did. But I don't know how I'm gonna get that out yet, so I gotta get that out so I can plug this in here and throw it back into the truck. But it's getting dark and cold, so done for the night. And as you can see, I got the fuel tank back up in there. The straps are back in. I don't have that cross brace back in yet, because you can see those bolts are broke off. They need to be ground out and drilled out. It's all back together. All the pigtails hooked back up. All the fuel lines hooked up. Bell tube in the back is all hooked back up, and it's ready to go. As you can see, it's a rainy day, and obviously I finished putting the fuel tank back up into the 2005 GMC Envoy, and she's running good. Gas gauge right there. I just put 20 bucks in it so I have a tank. When I first started it up, it sputtered a little bit. It was running a little rough. I was probably just getting the air out of the fuel lines. Once the air got out of the fuel lines, it smoothed out. And yeah, everything's good. I do still have to put the cross brace back in it. So I still have to grind those bolts off, drill them out, and put new bolts in so I can put that cross brace back in. But right now the tank is held up pretty solid with the T-tank straps. So I'm gonna work on it again another day when it's not raining to finish the job. But as of right now, it's drivable. So yeah.